What's up, everyone? We're back at it today. Yesterday I asked you guys, what do you guys want to see? And I'm already starting to see a ton of feedback, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. That's the feedback helps immensely. The real ones are the ones that are going to tell me the stuff I don't want to hear, because that's actually the stuff I am trying to hear. So most of you, for the most part of the general, I guess I've heard from like 10 people by now. Replied, commented, messaged me, whatever. Everyone wants to see more happening. Everyone wants to see the actual stuff happening, and that just makes me realize I am not spending enough time filming. And we're going to make that better today. Today I'm going to start making a pretty big effort to trying to show you guys more of what I got going on. Stuff that's behind the scenes. Stuff I don't normally show on camera. Yesterday, while I was working on doing some editing, I was working on fixing the front bumper on Blake's car. He had hit a deer, I don't know, a while ago, hit a deer with his car. Bumper cover cracked, blah, 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 blah. We're going to fix it good enough and just make it better than it was. It's definitely not going to be perfect. I'm definitely not a body person. And it's definitely not going to look perfect. But it is going to be not broken in half. I've started epoxying everything. I've got one side done with epoxy. I got the other side done with another type of epoxy, JB Weld epoxy on the front. And basically, I got to do some sanding on that today to at least get it like flattened out. It's never going to be perfect, but I'm just trying to flatten it out and make it so it's happy. Big hope is today, so I have like 3 hours till Blake is here. I'm hoping that I can get this bumper done, cleaned up. I gotta shave a couple more things off for the front mount to clear, and then I'm really hoping we have one coolant line I need to fix on it, and I just need to run some gauges into the car today. And we could actually, if we were serious about this, we could actually take and break the cams in today and possibly even go for our very first drive today. So we're gonna try to get busy today. I am going to set the camera up on the tripod, and I'm just gonna let her rip. And you know, if I got like 5 hours of content to go through, then I got 5 hours of content to go through. But we're going to just do it today, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. Alright, so here's what we are doing, guys. We are working on this front bumper. As you guys can see, it's definitely got some damage. It's definitely got some bumps and bruises. It's definitely not perfect. But the big thing is this used to be broken really bad, and you guys can see where I've started to patch it up, and it looks really bad right now. And so part of the thing we did for this is we put a lip on the car just so it'll hold the contour itself of the bumper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working on doing a little bit of sanding on this. I'm going to put the heat gun to it first, warm everything up, and just make sure it's fully cured, and then we are going to start knocking some material off here. We're going to warm it up with the heat gun, and then I'm going to be going over and knocking off the excess amount of material here, which there's a lot intentionally, and we'll knock it down to almost to a point where I can throw a skim layer of body filler on here, and then I'm going to try to blend this bumper myself, which is probably going to look terrible, but we're going to try it, you know, whatever. It's already wrecked anyways. Blake was ready to buy a new one, and I figured, hey, let's spend a little time and try to just fix it, make it good enough for now. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I'm basically just taking the heat gun and I'm trying to just warm up the material. In general, it's always good to just heat up stuff. When it's cold, it's brittle, it's not likely to want to be worked. So in this position, I went and warmed it up, and now I'm just knocking off the big excess amounts of epoxy here so that we can actually start working it like I am with sandpaper. In general speaking, what you're trying to do is get it to a point where you can leave a small indentation so you can come back with body filler and make it perfectly flush, so you can never see where the body work was actually done at. So I keep going and I'm knocking it down as flat as possible, getting it to a point where it will accept a very small amount of body filler to make it have the best result possible. So try to use as little amount as possible. Little goes a long way. Layer it if you have to, but always just try to have the thinnest layer possible. Here's where we're at right now. I did some rough sanding on our epoxy, and then now we are actually going to go and start working on doing body filler. So I just went and picked up some body filler. This is reinforced Evercoat professional grade, and then I also got icing light, which is a glaze. This is a finishing glaze, and basically we're gonna finish this off, and then I got white high fill primer that we will go over the top of it with. We haven't fully decided yet if we're gonna pull all the trim off this bumper and go ahead and actually spray the whole thing, or if we're just gonna attempt to blend what we can there. So that's kind of what's up in the air right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to doing some more body work here and pay attention, see what you can learn. All right, so this first step, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna throw some body filler on here. This is just reinforced, just base coat body filler. So I'm gonna grab gloves and we're gonna get some body filler spread out on the mixing board here. So we don't need a ton of this, and I know you guys can't really see, but we don't need a ton here. We are going to mix this up a little bit here, get all the sluices mixed up, and stuff's yucky. So ideally I'd be wearing a respirator from like this moment now, but you guys won't be able to hear me then. So basically from this point I'm just going to take a nice little size glob, throw it on here, and we don't need a ton, so this will be plenty. Seal up this can so I can breathe again. I've been holding my breath this whole time. Definitely never breathed in one. So we're just going to take the hardener, and this is actually not cream hardener like I'm used to using. This is just a slightly different type of hardener. So we'll go and put a nice line down it like that. Take our mixing knife, clean off this knife.
So when you're mixing this stuff up, you basically want to make sure you're trying to get as uniform of a color as you possibly can. And when you're starting to press it in, especially on the first coat of body filler, you want to make sure you're pressing adequate amounts of pressure down onto the material so that you are pushing all of the body filler into any cracks and crevices, so you have no air bubbles behind the body filler.
So I'll tell you what I've learned here. Body workers, people that do body work, they must be unbelievable thumb war freaking winners, because yeah, this shit makes my thumb hurt a lot. Hurts using that little spatula thing. So guys, it's important, all jokes and everything aside, it's important that you guys take away from these videos that really, with enough want, you guys could figure anything out. It's not about me showing what I can do. This is about you guys seeing that I can do it. So why can't you? Why can't you go chase after building your dream car, or learning how to build your dream car? And there's all too many people out there in this world that the only reason they don't go do what they want to do is because they're scared or they're worried about messing up. I'll tell you, if there's one thing that I've learned a lot in the last year, is that every single time in the moment that it seemed like something was the worst thing that's ever happened to me, those honestly ended up being my biggest lessons that I've ever got to learn. And it always does seem really hard, because in the moment you're telling yourself, oh, it's such a terrible thing, and oh, whatever, this thing is, oh, it's gonna ruin it's all gonna be terrible forever. And honestly, at the end of the day, those are the things you learn from. Those are the things you'll never forget. Those are the things that, when it comes down to it, you'll need to know. And I don't regret any of it, and I really hope that you guys go out and make some mistakes too, and learn some things, and figure out how to build your car, figure out how to put a bigger turbo on it, figure out how to put some injectors in it, whatever. It can be done. It's not that hard. All these things are documented. And if you have a Subaru, literally the only thing stopping you is you. I tell this to everyone. If somebody has a question about something, just ask me. Just ask. If you don't see it in the video, just ask. Literally, ask me. Just ask me just drop a comment. Hey, I didn't see this in this video, and I really need to know what is this here. And you know, if I don't have the answer, I mean, I have resources to get the answer. So just ask me. You know, it's like I really hope you guys go out and try to build your cars. Do something different. You know, learn something. Try to, you know, go out and do it yourself. Don't pay a mechanic to do it next time.
Okay, so now that we've got the first layer of body filler on, we're going to go ahead and knock it down and basically get it as flush as possible so we can get to a point where you don't have any excess body filler in place. Can't stress the importance of the first layer of body filler. It's really, really critical because every single layer of body filler, paint, primer, and high fill primer after that do base on that first layer of body filler. So if you screw the first layer up, everything after that is absolutely going to be not proper. It will never look right, and you'll always be able to tell there's a repair there. So a nice way to know when you're getting to a point where you are down to enough body filler removed and you have the contour you're looking for is when you start to get that really nice, long, spread out shade of where you can see the body fillers spread, you know, over an inch or more. You can see how the edges are very, very faint, and they don't, there's no hard line there. So now I'm spreading the icing light, which is the glaze that I chose to use for this, which is the basically top fill portion of the body filler. This is a very, very light coat, and you're just basically using it to blend in between the bodywork and the actual paint. When you use the glaze, you have to make sure that it's in a very small, fine, paper thin or less amount. It's just to cover up the small sanding scratches, the tiny imperfections, the substrate on the top of the surface. You don't want to have any amount of rimples or dips or anything like that, because that is what will leave you a poor finish when it is finished. So go ahead and leave yourself just a very small amount and knock it down to basically non-existent.
Alright, so you guys can see I sprayed it with just some regular old white paint over the top of the primer, and I did shoot a little clear on it. It's not permanent whatsoever, but we're just going to leave it like this just for now. Obviously, when this all cures, I'll go back and sand off the couple little overspray spots and, you know, kind of blend this a little bit better. But for now, we're going to leave it until we get this thing dyno tuned and everything. And then after that, we'll focus on, you know, buttoning up the cosmetics. But this is 1,000 times better than it was. We are working on putting in the gauges. So for those of you that don't know, we have a triple gauge setup in this. They're AEM. So these are the gauges that we're going to be running in this car. You guys can see it just covers up the factory clock area. So this will sit basically up here, and we will run all of our wires through. We have our big loom of wires down here that we ran all the way through, and we will have to run it and tuck it up under the dash and hook up to the power and everything off the radio, and, you know, get it all wired in. So I'm going to start working on that. I'll kind of show you guys once we get this all buttoned up how everything turns on and looks when it's functioning properly. So all of them are working. Obviously this one is not reading because I do not have the O2 sensor hooked up on the bell mouth of downpipe yet. So these are all hooked up, ready to go. And basically I'll just have to take, and we aren't going to actually drill holes into the dash on this car, so we will use some double-sided 3M tape and it'll be good enough. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and break these cams in. So I'm going to put this camera on the tripod and I'm going to break the cams in, and then hopefully first thing tomorrow morning, whenever Blake gets here, we'll be able to go take this thing for a ride. Alright guys, per usual, in typical fashion, We got dumped on with snow today, and I'll tell you, in the essence of learning lessons, I learned my lesson about breaking cars in during snow activities. You don't do it ever, people. So what I will say is, this car, it's ready to go. We broke cams and everything went flawlessly. Thing is literally ready to go down the road right now. And basically, at this point, we are just going to have to wait it out. I'm going to guess that it's probably going to be this weekend before the roads are clear again. And that's when we will actually get out and get you guys a legit video. We'll go out, we'll break the motor in, we'll do all that stuff, and I will make a video on what proper technique to breaking in one of these EJs is. And I'm hoping that you guys will get to learn something about that. So when you guys go build the motor, you guys will figure it out. I'm going to try to do a full motor build series soon on how to build an EJ that won't blow up, that will be spec'd out, blueprinted at home, and I'll show you guys how to do it and how to buy and use the tools for low buck. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. This thing's gonna be screaming down the road soon, and that leads to good stuff for you guys. I'll see you guys soon.